Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a much loved beauty product. This is the original mineral foundation from bareMinerals. This product has been around for quite a while, so this isn't so much a review and demo, but I did want to test this product on dry skin. I feel that there aren't nearly as many wear tests for foundations with dry skin as there are for oily skin, so I was really intrigued and I wanted to do an all-day wear test with this one. First, let me give you a little bit of product info about this foundation. This foundation is $29 US. It contains 8 grams or 0.28 ounces of powder. It does look pretty small in my opinion. When you look at the Too Faced Born This Way setting powder, I was really expecting this powder foundation to come in a container more this size. This Born This Way setting powder is more than double the size. This has 8 grams, this has 17. I'm gonna read you some of the claims from the Sephora website. This foundation is formulated without parabens, sulfates, or phthalates. It claims to be a buildable coverage, which means that you should be able to wear it from sheer to full coverage. Not so sure about that one. Formulated for all skin types, it's oil-free and hypoallergenic. It's dermatologist tested, and it says that it's safe for even sensitive skin, so that's good. It has SPF 15, but I would not rely on that as your form of sun protection for your face. SPF 15 in general is not a very high protection level, and there is no way that you're actually getting even SPF 15 coverage. When you're putting a powder onto your face, you're not evenly coating your skin, and it's not protecting you. Okay, Kiki G Makeup made a really great video about SPF in cosmetics. I'm gonna link that video. She did a really great job of getting the information across, so definitely watch that video when you're done with this one and you'll understand what I mean when I say this SPF 15 isn't doing anything for you. There are 30 shades in this foundation. There's also a matte version. This one says that it's radiant, so there's a matte version as well, and that one also has 30 shades. I don't have the matte version. That would not work out well for me anyway with this dry face. And I'm gonna jump straight into the demo, so I'll show you me applying this morning, and I'll also show you my wear test check-ins. I'll wrap up all my thoughts at the end about how this foundation wore on me, and also if I think it lives up to its claims. Before we apply the foundation, I just want to let you know I did use a primer and a little bit of concealer on my face first. I want to do my cream products before my powder products, and since this is a powder foundation, I needed to apply my concealer first. So I used my Too Faced Hangover RX primer. Love this primer, and it's very moisturizing, so I think it's really going to help a powder product work on my dry skin. And I applied just a little bit of this new Too Faced Born This Way Super Coverage Concealer. I used the shade Almond. I put just a little bit of that under the eyes, and I have some redness around my nose, so I applied a little bit there too. A little bit goes a long way with this concealer, so I just applied the tiniest amount there where I typically apply concealer and I know I would need some extra coverage. I have you super zoomed in so that you can see this bareMinerals original foundation going onto my skin. I'm gonna be using the shade Neutral Ivory 06. I do notice that these powders look darker in the container than they do once they're applied to the skin. It looks even darker in person than it does on camera, since I have this big fluorescent ring light shining right on us. But keep that in mind, these do look a little bit darker in these containers, so you definitely want to swatch these if you're able to. I'm going to be using this beautiful finish brush. This is what bareMinerals recommends to be used with this foundation. This is a synthetic brush. It's super soft. It has this little like cup shape in the bristles. bareMinerals recommends a swirl tap buff. So you're supposed to dip the brush into the powder. It's on there. And then you're supposed to swirl it in the cap to like work it into the bristles and then buff it onto your skin. So let's see what happens. Kind of looks the same to me. Let's add a little bit more. I went light with the first application because I didn't really know what to expect. It looks exactly the same. Okay, let's try this again. Not doing too much for me. Okay, so that's a couple of layers on. Didn't give me much coverage at all. It did kind of even me out just a little bit. It definitely made my skin look a little bit smoother. It took away a little bit of the shine. I'm already noticing over here, like, it just looks a little bit dry on my skin. So I'm gonna finish up the rest of my makeup and then I will check in with you guys and see how this is wearing. So I finished up my makeup and I've been wearing this for just over 4 hours now. After I finished my makeup, I went out to lunch with my husband. So this has been in the hot car and I was eating sushi, which is kind of tough on your makeup. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. At least for me, that's the case. So we're gonna check out the foundation and see how it's looking. I was wearing sunglasses as well, and you can see like the sunglasses marks. That always happens no matter what, but I do feel like my nose needs touched up for sure. Overall, I think my skin looks pretty much the same as it did when I applied. Maybe noticing a little bit of dryness on the chin, and definitely like the forehead area looks like it might be getting a little dry between the brows here. Not too bad though, honestly better than I expected. I'm going to touch up a little bit around my nose, especially where my sunglasses were, and we'll get an idea for how well this layers, and then I'll do one more check-in in a few hours and see what a full day's wear looks like for this. The touch-up looks good, so that went well. We'll see how it looks in a few more hours. I think this is gonna be my last check-in for the day. I've been wearing this for about 7 hours now, and I'm just out of time for check-ins. I have to go pick up my son soon, so I will be wearing this for longer, but this is the last time I'll have a chance to film my face for the day. Honestly, I think it pretty much looks the same as it did when I applied it. Where I had to touch up around my nose during my second check-in, I think looks pretty good. I think it may have worn off a little bit more here as well. So let's see how the forehead looks. It actually looks pretty good, right? It's way too hot today. The hair had to go up. First of all, I realized when I was giving you the product info about the foundation, I didn't mention this brush. This is the Beautiful Finish brush. This is priced at $32 US, and this is made to work with the foundation. The brush is all synthetic fibers, so if you are part of the cruelty-free or vegan community, then this brush should work well for you. I will say that the bristles are very, very soft and flexible. It felt really nice on my face. However, I don't think this is a must for this foundation. I actually think I would like the powder foundation more if I used something that was a little bit more dense and more stiff. I think I could just get more coverage from a brush like that versus this one that's very flexible with these long very soft bristles. Not a bad brush by any means. I just don't think that it's a must if you want to use this foundation. Oh, I also want to mention that I didn't use any setting spray and I didn't even use any Fix Plus on top of this. Overall, I'm pleasantly surprised by how this powder foundation has worn on my skin because I have very dry skin on my face. Powders are really tricky for me, and I think this one actually looks pretty nice. There are a few spots where I noticed a little bit of powderiness or like a flaky type of look, but nothing awful. Definitely exceeded my expectations as far as the look on the skin goes. I think that using a moisturizing primer really helped me out here. If you have dry skin, I would highly recommend using a great moisturizer or a hydrating primer before you apply this powder foundation. There are some of these claims that I really agree with. First of all, the fact that this is a radiant powder, I do think that this looks nice and natural and just a little bit glowy on my skin. It is not super matte and super flat looking, so I would agree with the claim that this is radiant. It also says that it's formulated for all day wear. I was not feeling very confident in this claim, but I think that it looks just as good now as when I applied it. Even though I did need some minimal touch-ups, kind of my fault, I was wearing sunglasses earlier. My nose was the main area where I noticed it wearing off the most, but I typically need to touch up my nose anyway, just with any makeup, so I'm not going to criticize it too harshly there. All in all, on the rest of my face, I do think that this wore really nicely for several hours, so I'm gonna go ahead and agree with that claim too. The main claim that I'm gonna disagree with here is the coverage claim. On the Sephora website, it says that it's a medium coverage, and it also claims that it's buildable up to a full coverage. I can't imagine this being built up to a full coverage, at least not on its own. Paired with something like a tinted moisturizer or a BB cream or something, maybe then. I really think this is a sheer to possibly light medium coverage. Because I'm having a decently good skin day, aside from this little guy that's trying to pop up here, but thank you Too Faced Concealer has helped me out with that. Since I'm having a pretty good skin day, I think that this very light coverage works just fine for me. I do tend to prefer more of a light to medium coverage, so I'm okay with it, but since it claims to be medium and buildable up to full, I was surprised just how little coverage I really was getting out of it. So the coverage thing is the main claim that I disagree with. If you've had a different experience, I would love for you to leave that in the comments for me, but I just don't see this being medium buildable to full. I don't see it. Another thing that I did want to mention with this is that my other makeup went on top of it really nicely. I used a powder, blush, bronzer, and highlighter. I went very light on those powder products simply because this is very light coverage on my skin and I didn't want to be piling other like color products on top, just to keep it more with the natural look, except for this bright orange eyeshadow, but that's a different story. So other powders blended really beautifully on top of this, and I also didn't use any setting spray or Fix Plus. This is all just the powders doing the work today. So all in all, I'm very pleased, pleasantly surprised with how this worked on my dry skin. I will be using this again for sure, and probably will be doing that in conjunction with a tinted moisturizer just to get a tiny bit more coverage. I do think that my skin looks nice. This did even it out a little bit. It definitely softened the overall look of my skin, but for day-to-day, I want just a teeny tiny bit more coverage. The shade range is pretty good. 30 shades is pretty good, especially because this isn't really a super full coverage product. You do get a little bit more wiggle room shade-wise. 40 shades is kind of becoming the new standard, so I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing bareMinerals release some more shades extending those medium and deep shades. I think that would be great, but all in all, 30 shades seems pretty good. I feel like this product would be particularly useful for people who do want just a softening of the skin, a little bit of evening out. I can see somebody who has a little bit more mature skin, or maybe somebody who's very young and has that still baby fresh skin and doesn't need a lot of coverage. I think those are the people that are gonna most benefit from this product. But overall, I do think it's beautiful and surprisingly good for dry skin. I really hope that you found the wear test helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you been a long time bareMinerals lover? Leave a comment and let us know what you think. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Mineral loose powder Too Faced. Home to I know you tried. What? Or moisturizing. Do you hear that? Do you hear that yelling? Do you hear it? The joys of living in a townhouse. I'm taking a deep cleansing breath. It's okay. Okay. bareMinerals. You're good at YouTube.